Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Before we get into today's Brain Scratch, I just want to share some news with you guys. You know, this can be a pretty amazing community. There is a lot of people working together here to share these stories with you. And these stories come with a price for the families that are experiencing these tragedies. And I think it's really important that we remember that. I think it's really important that we honor that and that we try to give back to those families to help their efforts, sometimes in ways bigger than just trying to raise exposure to their stories like we do regularly here on social media. I have a partnership with a company called Magellan TV. They've sponsored some episodes in the past. They've sponsored Crime After Crime, and I just wanted to let you guys know Magellan's doing something pretty special right now, and it's a way where you can essentially get an amazing service and also help some of these families in these terrible, terrible situations. This is a special link at magellantv.com/cold-case. This is the link that you want to use if you want to be part of this. They have partnered with the Cold Case Foundation during the month of July for anyone who joins Magellan TV using the button below specifically. So please be sure to use this link, and I'll have a link to it in the description box below. Magellan TV will donate $10 to the Cold Case Foundation, an organization dedicated to raising resources and expertise to solve cold case murders and assaults. I'm very proud to be included in this list of other creators in this space. Lenora Claire, True Crime Garage, Joshua Miles, of course, my friend Stephanie Harlow, Criminally Listed, and Tara Newell. I think they'll be adding some more people here as we go along. And thank you to all these other creators for helping to spread this message. Also, I just think it's an amazing thing. How can you go wrong? Try the service out. Donate $10 to the Cold Case Foundation and really help affect some change in these cases that we're always talking about here on the channel. And that moves us forward to a case that originally I was gearing up for Searchlight, and then in my research process, it became very clear to me that this is a brain scratch case. Yes, we do have a missing person. Foul play is more than suspected in this case. So we are going to get into the story of Talina Galloway right now.
If you take all the goodness in the world and put it in one person, that's Talina. One of the most amazing people I've ever met.
Talina's friend, Marty Angus, obviously very concerned about her. We're going to have some more information from Marty as we're going through the case today, and with really good cause. It really comes down to one of the last points of contact from Talina is a Facebook post, and she's talking about possibly having coronavirus. So obviously big cause for concern, but let's go ahead and see what this post says. It was posted on April 7th, 2020 at 2:15 p.m. Hey everyone, I'm on day 9 of this virus, and I am pretty sure it has reached my lungs. Feeling a little raspy and tight. I made the decision at the onset that if it got bad enough, I would not go to the hospital. Those of you who know me well know I have DNR orders in my health directive, and I'm not going to let anyone intubate me. This kind of lines up with an interview that I saw from a friend of hers. Apparently, Talina had some bad previous experiences in hospitals, and she also lost her husband recently. So taking this kind of stance, maybe not so surprising for people that know her well. Let's continue to the NamUs profile and see what else we can learn about this case. Date of last contact, they're noting April 7th, 2020. Was she seen that day? We're going to try to learn as we go through today's information. She's missing from Wagoner, Oklahoma at the age of 53. Her full name is Talina Jana Galloway. She's got some aliases here: Jana Yvonne Lovick or Jana Dillman, and Talina Czar. It's saying that these are previous names. I'm not sure if they mean from previous marriages or not. She stands somewhere around 5'7" to 5'8", weighs around 200 pounds, white Caucasian female. In terms of the circumstances of disappearance, we really got nothing here. For location, they're just noting Wagoner, Oklahoma, her hometown. Last seen April 7th. She might be in the Lake Winona and Lake Maumelle areas of Arkansas. I'm not really sure where that information is coming from. I don't know if these are areas that she had lived in previously, or if these are areas that she had spoken to someone about recently. For physical description, brown hair, green eyes, she wears glasses, she does have a few tattoos. This description is saying a small star tattoo on the inside of her right wrist. I've seen that also described as actually being a sun, and the name Daisy, I believe it's Daisy, tattooed on her wrist as well. For clothing and accessories, no real description, but they do have an image here, and it's not a great picture of it. It's a pendant, and it's actually I believe it's a thumbprint that's in the middle of the pendant, and I believe that thumbprint is of her late husband's. For transportation, they're not noting any here. We're going to find out that she goes missing, and somehow she goes missing without her car. Her car is left behind. There's definitely some similarities with this case and the John Lee case that we covered earlier this week. If you haven't watched that episode, please check it out, because it's really interesting to me to be spotlighting these cases in the same week that have kind of similar disappearance circumstances, but seeing two very different types of investigations going on with those cases. Let's learn a little bit about Wagoner, Oklahoma over at Wikipedia. Wagoner is a city in Wagoner County, Oklahoma. Population was just over 8,000 people at the 2010 census. And if we take a look at a map here, Wagoner, there's actually two areas that I've heard it described for where she lives. I've heard just Wagoner in general, which is up over here. And I've heard Fort Gibson, near Fort Gibson, is where she could be living. Now, there is an actual historic site called Fort Gibson. I don't know if that's the area they're referring to. It seems like this whole kind of sub area over here is referred to as Fort Gibson. We can see there's also a casino there. But even if we go back to Wagoner proper, which is right in this area, we can see there's an area called Fort Gibson Wildlife Management Area. So it's just another one of those cases where we don't have a great last known location, which for missing persons cases, of course, is always tough. Let's go ahead and continue at KJRH.com and learn more about Talina's case. 53-year-old Talina Galloway of Wagoner was last seen April 7th. Now, friends are desperately searching for her. And I just want to point out here, a lot of these articles kind of make that assumption that she's last seen April 7th. And we're going to come to learn that she has a roommate. And it could be that her roommate is the source of that information of her being last seen. But we also have that Facebook message. And I'm not sure if these articles are just referring to the fact that, the Facebook message seems to be the last contact from her. Those close to Talina are concerned for her health. Marty Angus remembers the last text message he received from Talina. She wasn't feeling well, and she would get back to me when she felt better, he said. I've been calling, texting. There's just no answer. Her phone's been off since the 7th, he said. According to the missing persons report, Talina left home without her purse or wallet. The report also says Talina's car was in the driveway. So if you did see the John Lee episode this week, we've got extremely similar conditions. Vehicle left behind. It always raises my concern level when I hear items that a person would normally need to be able to take care of themselves are left behind, and items of significant value. And we have both here. We've got her purse, her wallet, and her car all left behind. And we kind of had that same situation in John's case as well. Now, I found this interesting update, and this is weird because I kind of don't have the first half of this story, but it seems like there was a potential sighting of her in Arkansas, and it seems like it might have been called in from the Arkansas State Police, but then we have Wagoner County Sheriff's Office making a clarification on May 1st, 2020. The Wagoner County Sheriff's Office has received notification from the Arkansas State Police that they did not have contact with her. The previous information that was received was incorrect, and she is still considered missing. Now, how does that happen where an incorrect message gets passed like that, but from one department to another? I'm not exactly sure. Could it be that someone made a phone call to the Wagoner County Sheriff's Office and said that they were actually with the Arkansas State Police and that they had confirmed that she was fine? I think that's a possibility. Could there be some type of other mistake where maybe some information was sent out there for them to look for her, and they were just confirming that they received the information, and that was kind of misunderstood as a confirmation that they had actually seen her? Possibly. I mean, paperwork problems and things like that are human nature. That type of stuff's going to happen. So I don't know if it's quite as nefarious as maybe someone getting in the middle of that line of communication and trying to throw some bad information one way or another. But there's more to her post here, and unfortunately this screenshot has some of it cut off. We're going to jump to an article and read the second paragraph of this post together. So I've made arrangements to spend some quality time alone at one of my favorite hideaways at one of my favorite lakes, and I've booked it for the remainder of this week, she wrote before she disappeared. Is anyone else out there concerned about how easy would it be to book something in late March, early April? Particularly, it sounds like we're talking about a possible Airbnb situation or something like that. I don't know, but I'm having issues with that kind of just at face value. According to her missing persons poster circulated by the Wagoner County Sheriff, Galloway was sick and terrified of going to the hospital. Once again, I can just tell you the interview that I saw with her friend makes that very clear, that she definitely didn't want to go to the hospital. Her roommate reported her missing April 12th, saying it appeared she left home without her purse and with her car still in the driveway, Dateline reported. So now we might be getting some information about who's the source of the last known contact. And it's a little interesting to me. I mean, just think if you had a roommate that was saying, hey, I've potentially got coronavirus. And she's not saying potentially, she's saying she's on day 9. So she's being very direct about it. I would be concerned. And I mean, if that's a roommate, if that's someone you're living with, your exposure potential is all of a sudden through the roof. Kind of interesting to me that roommate would go missing and you wait several days to call it in. And admittedly, you've got the Facebook post, so maybe you're looking at that and saying, well, she said she was going to go do this. I don't know. For me personally, I would probably call that in sooner rather than later and just say, yes, she did send this post, but guys, it's kind of strange. Her vehicle's still here. Her purse is still here. How is she paying for whatever place she's going to stay at? I mean, could it have been done on credit card or something? Yes, of course. Could she potentially be using a rideshare service to get there? They're actually going to even address that with some of the comments from the investigation. Wagoner County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Jeff Halfacre told Dateline the circumstances of her disappearance are troubling. Now, obviously, you can't take two cases and lay them side by side and say, hey, look, these two things are exactly the same, but we have two investigations going completely different. It could be that Wagoner County Sheriff's Office has been privy to some information they're not being public about, where it's like, you know what, this disappearance is certainly disturbing. And back to the John Lee case that we talked about on Wednesday, it could be that in that instance, some information came in to that police department, to Appleton, Wisconsin Police Department, that said, you know what, there's some chance that John left of his own accord, or that someone came and picked him up or something like that. So it's hard to take these cases kind of at face value and say, look, we've got very similar situations and we've got two very different outcomes. But for me, just kind of as an analyst of this information, it's hard for me to not look at this type of stuff and say, why does this happen so differently over here? And why is it so different in this area? Of course, this could launch a whole conversation. I've talked about it on the channel many times, but different police departments act in very different ways all across this nation. But let's go ahead and continue with some more information and see if we could figure out what's going on with Talina's case. At myarclemis.com, we're really worried about her. Talina's niece, Chantel Jones, told Dateline, this is not her character. She would not let us worry like this. Chantel told Dateline she spent most of her summers living with her Aunt Talina in Indiana. Several years ago, Talina moved to Wagoner with her husband. He died suddenly 2 years ago, but she remained in Wagoner, where she works for Microsoft from home. I did find some information about her career. She is essentially what most people refer to as a Microsoft certified specialist or a Microsoft certified professional. So she's been trained very specifically for certain Microsoft products. and I'm sure it's a job that probably provides pretty well for her. Chantel said her aunt was in contact with her boss on March 27th. It's the last contact anyone had with her, she added. So that's interesting, because here we're having Chantel kind of discount what the roommate is saying. And if we're talking about a possible foul play situation, I think it might be a good move to look for other points of information and try to lean on those a little bit as well. So Chantel being very clear, the last time, and this could be possibly confirmed contact. I would imagine that this would be something more than an email. It could be that they were actually on the phone together and her boss is saying, yes, I know 100% it was her. That April 7th, the post thing, we've run into so many cases where we're winding up questioning, did the person that we think made that post actually make it? And this case really highlights that as we move forward through it. According to the Wagoner County Sheriff's report, investigators believe Talina may have used rideshare services to a location in Arkansas, but they were not able to verify if she was picked up. We're doing everything we can to look for her from a distance, but it's hard because we're all in different states, Chantel said. There's a group there passing out flyers and searching the best they can, but it's hard. And that's really one of the comments that grabbed me as I was looking through this case. And I was like, we got to raise exposure. We got to help them. We've got different locations that need to have awareness raised around this case. And honestly, even though I've moved this from Searchlight to BrainScratch, we still do. We still have all these different considerations and different locations where we need to raise awareness. Friend Nicole Belafont Carr told Dateline she believes they will find her with the help of social media, and I sincerely hope that we are a big factor in that as well. Thousands of people are looking for her who don't even know her, Nicole said. But Talina captured their hearts. That's the magic of Talina. My friend Talina is like feeling the sun on both sides of my face, Nicole said. She is warm and radiates positivity, and she is exactly what the world needs right now. We just need to find her. And that's why I wanted to start with Marty's comments. And he even goes more into that interview about who Talina is. They met while playing games online together, had a good friendship. He was friends with her husband and kind of through that got to know Talina. But after her husband passed away, they've still stayed in contact. Something I always try to remember when we're talking about these cases, and we kind of touched on it a little bit at the start of this, talking about Magellan TV, and there's a price that people are paying for these stories to come out. There is a hole that is left in this world when someone goes missing or someone is murdered, and it affects, it's like a ripple effect. It just goes out from that center and it affects all kinds of other people around it. And obviously in Talina's case, we've got her friends speaking up. We've got her family speaking up. There's a big ripple that we're seeing around this as well. A lot of people that are missing her. And we get a very scary development, which is on June 11th, 2020, reported at newson6.com. Wagoner County woman named person of interest in roommate's disappearance. And this is a picture of, I don't know if it's Cor or Corey. I've heard it kind of kicked around both ways, but her last name is Adams, and she has a bunch of aliases. We're going to touch on that by the end of the episode as well. The sheriff said they've taken Galloway's roommate into custody. Sheriff Chris Eliot said Cor Adams is Galloway's roommate, and she's the one who reported Galloway missing 10 days after she was last seen. That's kind of interesting because the dates that we have, if she was last seen when that post kicked out on the 7th, the 15th isn't 10 days, so it seems like the sheriff might not be considering that Facebook post relevant anymore. He said they searched their home near Fort Gibson yesterday. As a result of that search warrant, we established Cor had actually been using Talina's credit cards, Eliot said. Sheriff Eliot said they also discovered Adams was taking money out of Galloway's bank account and selling some of her things. They also learned Adams had firearms even though she has a previous felony conviction, which they're just pointing out because if you have a previous felony conviction, you're not supposed to carry weapons. Huge cause for concern. This is more than red flags. This is trouble. We've got someone that essentially goes missing. We've got a message on Facebook that we now don't know if it's actually accurate or not. And a roommate is stealing from that person, using their credit cards, emptying their bank account, selling their personal items. This doesn't look good on any front. And when I ran into this information, this was when I knew we got to move this case to BrainScratch. I'll just tell you guys right now, Talina is still missing. So yes, this is a missing persons case, but with the type of information that's kicking out around this isn't a foul play suspected case. There is foul play that's going on here. We just don't know the extent of it. Over at TulsaWorld.com, Sheriff Chris Eliot said the last time anyone knew Galloway was okay was on March 27th. And that person was Adams. So that's kind of interesting because we have the niece talking about the contact with the boss happening on March 27th. And now, at least according to what the sheriff is telling Tulsa World, Core is also saying the last time she saw her was on the 27th. So that Facebook post kind of just flew out the window, I assume. Why would she have posted over a week after she left if she was going to spend time near a lake or something like that? Now the time frame that is built into that Facebook post is completely falling apart. And another interesting thing about that post and that time frame is the post comes out on April 7th and it talks about, I'm on day 9 of fighting coronavirus. Now, first of all, I haven't had it. I don't know. But how many people are actually aware of the day that they actually came down with coronavirus? Is it really something that you could track in that way and say, oh, well, no, it was definitely last Tuesday? I don't know. So I'm already questioning just the way the post is phrased about, I'm on day 9. But if we also do the math from April 7th and roll it back, that gets us to about March 29th. So we're kind of in the range of when the supposed last sighting of Talina actually happened. It seems to me like if we look at that Facebook post, I'm actually going to bring it up again so we can look at it together here. Is this a post made by the roommate to cover up the fact that Talina has already been out of contact? Let's read it through that lens. Hey everyone, I'm on day 9 of this virus and I'm pretty sure it has reached my lungs. So March 27th, last contact with boss. So March 27th is actually a Friday going into the weekend. So if she was working a Monday through Friday job, and we go back to this post, and you're someone trying to cover your tracks about this, you could assume that Talina probably wasn't in contact with her boss on Saturday or Sunday. So if we're looking at this once again through the lens of making an excuse, you just have to roll the time back to that weekend. And now all of a sudden that 9th day really, really makes sense. I'm pretty sure it has reached my lungs, feeling a little raspy and tight. Of course, that's pretty common knowledge in terms of what people go through with coronavirus. It does seem like the information here about the DNR and that the fact that she wouldn't go to the hospital might be something that the roommate knew about and that other friends knew about her as well. Because like I mentioned, I'm seeing information that's kind of lining up with that being part of Talina's personality. But if it is part of Talina's personality, it's very possible that her roommate would have known that also. So I've made arrangements to spend some quality alone time at one of my favorite hideaways at one of my favorite lakes. The term hideaways is really sticking out to me. If we're looking at it through this lens, that this was written by someone trying to cover up a potential crime. And lakes. Quite honestly, the thing that I fear is that Talina has ended up in a significant water source. And if we just jump back real quick, I didn't really talk about it when we were first here, but we can see not too far from Wagoner, we've got a significant water source, Fort Gibson Lake. We've got Long Bay. There's also a river over here to the west. We've got a lot of possible water sources around this, but we've also got a ton of time. And we've got this reference, this reference that we're seeing in Namus about Arkansas. Is it possible that if something bad happened to Talina, that her body could have been moved, possibly even out of state. I do think that's something we have to consider with this case, especially when we roll through some more of the details. Let's go ahead and do that so that we can talk about this and kind of get on the same page. Another article from KJRH.com. The case is now being called a missing person with special circumstance. A probable cause affidavit said investigators found what is believed to be blood in the garage and a bedroom of the home Bomley shared with Galloway. And I'm not sure if that's Bomley or Bomelli, but that is another one of Core's last names. The affidavit provided by the Wagner County Sheriff's Office stated a search of Core's cellular phone shows she was performing internet searches for ways to get blood out of concrete and wood. Investigators also recovered a trailer that was owned by Galloway. So, like I was saying before, now we have a trailer that's part of this mix. There's some strange things that Core does in trying to get rid of the trailer, which really is leading the investigation to consider that that trailer was used in some way. And if it was to move Talina, who knows how far that trailer could have gone. So jumping over to oxygen.com, let's get some more from the affidavit. In the backyard, they found the charred remains of a mattress Galloway had recently purchased. It had been torched 2 days before Core reported her roommate missing, according to the affidavit. Core had also allegedly rearranged furniture in the house to make it appear that no bed was missing and that Galloway slept in the house's front bedroom, when in fact she slept in the rear bedroom. So this affidavit's being clear. We've got staging, crime scene staging going on all over this case. Rearranging furniture, trying to make it look like that other bed isn't missing, and then even trying to change the room that Talina was known to sleep in. It's really outside of, look, we've already got blood being found. We've got internet searches that are pointing to very, very bad things here. Now we're finding out that a mattress was burnt and the house was rearranged to try to cover this up. I mean, this is pretty much a worst case scenario for a case like this. In another storage unit, this one allegedly rented by Core under a fake name, police found 2 firearms and several hundred rounds of ammunition. The storage unit also contained the tire for a trailer that Core had tried to hide, first at a friend's house and then at a storage facility, according to the affidavit. So it seems like the trailer got moved around quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I believe it also winds up being sold at one point. Let's jump over to another article at Tulsa World. Sheriff Chris Eliot met with reporters Wednesday, June 24th to give them an update. We have interviewed many friends and acquaintances of these women. We believe Core has been very deceptive to investigators and has intentionally destroyed items in an attempt to hide potential evidence associated with Talina's disappearance. A key piece of evidence is a white cargo trailer. The missing trailer has been sold and has since been located. The sheriff said the trailer may possibly have been involved in the case and is being processed for evidence. Let's just jump to a picture. This is a picture of the trailer real quick. So you can see it's obviously big enough if we're talking about potentially not just moving a body, but maybe other things that were from the home as well could have been moved with the body at the same time. So I'd be very curious to know if maybe there was more items. Maybe it wasn't just the mattress that needed to be gotten rid of, or perhaps this trailer was just available and easy to use, and maybe it was used for Talina only. I hate thinking about this, but with the details we're seeing around this case, it's impossible not to consider. This is a missing person case with suspicious circumstances, he reminded. Rarely do people just drop off the face of the earth and disappear. Our job is to identify why Talina Galloway disappeared. Back to another article at newson6.com. The Wagner County Sheriff's Office believes a trailer could help them find Wagner woman Talina Galloway. That trailer was found after the current owner of the trailer saw a Facebook post from a News on 6 reporter about this case. Sheriff Chris Eliot said Core intentionally hid the trailer from them. Her stories didn't add up, and we found that she was lying and being deceptive about the whereabouts of the trailer. As we continued to interview her, we became suspicious that Talina was missing under suspicious circumstances and that Core had information about the whereabouts of Talina she wasn't being forthcoming with. Core had the trailer in a storage unit in Edmond back in May. Investigators said that she rented the storage unit using a different name. A man came forward on Tuesday claiming he bought the trailer from Core. By moving evidence around, we have had a lot of questions of why that was going on, but she won't talk to us about it right now, Sheriff Eliot said. Another quote from Sheriff Eliot, there's always a plausible explanation to why they disappear. We are still involved in this investigation. We really want to find Miss Galloway safe and sound. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I wish that could be an outcome in this case. I just don't know that it can be with the information that's coming out about this investigation. And what's going on with Core? Right now, Core is facing charges for 4 counts possessing a firearm after felony, 5 counts of obstruction, 2 counts of destroying evidence, credit card fraud, and larceny. Of course, there's a big charge from all this missing if this is indeed a murder case. June 24th, 2020, we get an update. Core is the person of interest and has since bonded out of jail in connection with the case. I'm pretty concerned about that because there's some information I'm finding out about her past. It seems like she moves around quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to hear that she has left the area and no one knows where she is. Also, keep in mind we've got different potential aliases for this woman. And what about Marty? More than anything, Marty Angus just wants answers. Some kind of reassurance that his dear friend Talina Galloway is still alive. Angus has known Galloway and her late husband for 20 years. He says the 4 were inseparable, but now he's living in a world where they are both gone and is worried about what's happened to her. There is a very small but extremely helpful Web Sleuths thread on this. It's only 3 pages so far, and if you're interested in this case, I really recommend you check it out. I just want to call out Jethro for WS, who I've seen on Web Sleuths a lot. They're a well-known member. They contribute a lot of great information. This Core Adams is a bit of an enigma. In trying to track down her felony history, I found her divorce in Muskogee County, Oklahoma, which was final on March 19th, 2020, separated since September 2018, and learned the marriage back in 2007 was in Oregon. Going to Oregon, I find that her felony history is under the name Bomelli. Her booking in Wagoner County lists her as Bomelli Adams. I find that she had gone to court to change her name to Core Bomelli back in 2003, with her prior name being Deborah Ann Sachs. A search on the name Deborah Sachs in Oregon only yields the name change case, so I haven't figured out who she is or why she changed her name. The only references to anyone named Bomelli in Oregon only lead to her after the name change, parking and traffic offenses and a small claims case, but no felonies. Here we have Heuristics Department, another member, that says, I found a reference to the felony obtain money in a mugshots.com entry that came up when I Googled Core Bomelli Adams, the mugshot under Core D. Adams, and lists some other aliases, other variations of Deborah, and a last name Zing. So once again, my hat's off to Web Sleuths. Sometimes those threads hit really strong information, and I think in particular for this case, this is a home run because we have someone that has moved around a bit, might not have the wildest criminal history, or might. We've got all these name changes and we don't know if these records are holding together. So it could be possible that you trace back one of these names, find that that's another change from another previous name, and all of a sudden you open up some more serious charges. But here is that mugshots.com page. Of course, I'll have a link to it in the description box below. For names and aliases, it's noting Core D. Adams, Debbie Sachs, Deborah A. Zing, Core D. Adams Bomelli, and Corey D. Adams. So we've got a few different variations on the names there. And I'm telling you guys, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's actually more than that. So I did find a post. I know this is super tiny writing. This is from the niece, Chantel Jones. It's her talking in a group about Talina's disappearance. And there's some other facts that she goes over I just want to share with you guys before we end today's video. And first of all, know that they actually had to act quiet once the information about Core started coming out because they were worried that the chatter online was going to tip her off and that she was going to flee. And of course, when you're looking at someone with a history like this, name changes and moving around a bit, the possibility of her fleeing, I think, is pretty high. And I'd say that despite the fact that she might be released at this point, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't some form of surveillance or some taps that were being kept on her in some way. Let's see here. In Cora's purse was a small paper with Talina's date of birth and social security number written down, several credit cards in Talina's name, and one of the 2 guns she always said Talina took with her. There were 3 more guns in her possession, and as a convicted felon, she's not to have any. The fire that was in the backyard was her burning my aunt's mattress. She purchased 4 storage units and a trailer with credit cards she got in my aunt's name, all under various aliases and in different cities. That's curious to me because I thought the trailer might have been handy, but it's very possible that she actually purchased the trailer after Talina's disappearance. For an unrelated issue, she paid her attorney with my aunt's credit card. She's also saying CSI has processed the house and got significant hits from the luminol spray, which had been swabbed and sent to the lab for DNA blood confirmation. And of course, she's been selling. It's terrible. She's been selling her aunt's personal items on eBay, and they do believe that she was preparing to run. It also says here that we are not done, and I totally understand that, and I agree with Chantel. This case obviously is not done. All we have at this point are some charges being filed. There's a lot more that needs to happen to actually put Core in jail for this, if that's really where we're going. And it seems like by all accounts, that should be what we're looking at, some type of murder charges here. There's these obvious other charges, the credit card fraud and all that kind of stuff. I don't think any of that's going to matter too much if the real charges come through. And that's part of why I wanted to do this video today and why I'm going to ask you guys to help raise exposure by sharing this case. There might be some other people that have other parts of the puzzle, and look at how the trailer information came in. It was a Facebook post, and this guy's like, hey, I just bought a trailer. Oh, that's the trailer that they're looking for. We need more on the social media front to help squeeze the extra details out of this case, to help give them the information to make sure that this is a conviction and this conviction sticks. And most importantly, if someone out there has the information about where Talina is, or some ideas on that, maybe they interacted with Core, maybe they saw her at it could be something like a gas station where someone thought they saw her that's in a completely different state but fits the time frame. And that's what's tricky about this, because the time frame we're looking at is pretty wide. I'd say we're looking at the weekend, that last weekend in March, through, it's really about a 2-week stretch there. So we've got a pretty decent chunk of time. And we also have a lot of public concern that was going on. Everyone all of a sudden hearing about, oh, we're going to have to stay at home and we have to deal with this coronavirus thing. And how are we going to do all this? So it's really a tough case in terms of, I think, finding the right people. And to the point of what we touched on in the articles, I think social media is one of the strongest tools that can be used in this case right now. I think Chantel knows that. That's why she's sharing all this type of information. I'm really thankful that the news agencies did report on the case in this manner. They really kept it to a missing persons case. It sounds like they needed that at the time to make sure that Core didn't run. And as soon as that got laid out, all of a sudden investigators opened up with them more, gave them those additional pieces. So now here we are. Someone else out there might have more pieces to make sure that this conviction goes through, that we get the proper charges filed and that a conviction goes through. So if you're that person, all you got to do is look at the description box below and pick up a phone. It's really just that simple. I've got a bit of a special surprise for any 3 Men and a Mystery fans right at the end of this video, but before we get there, I just have to thank several supporters who support the channel through PayPal. Thank you, Emma Rostron, Jennifer Wilson, Michael Park, Kelly Joe, and a special thank you to Thomas Boehm and Donisia Lantow. Thank you so much for helping to support the channel. If you'd like to do the same, please visit www.lordandarts.com. There you can support the channel through PayPal, Patreon, or by buying merchandise. All of it helps keep me here doing what I am moved to do. helping families in these terrible, terrible situations. And I truly do hope that we get justice for Talina. I can't imagine what her family and friends are going through right now. So 3 Men and a Mystery. Season 3 is coming. When's it coming? What's it going to be about? It just takes you the next 60 seconds to find out.
Allison is a very kind, loving, free spirit. She loves love and she celebrates love, and she loves her family. She's a really great, wonderful human being. I miss her just so deeply.
She really opened me up from the weird kid that I was. She really allowed me to be myself and embraced me, and without her, I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today.
He brought her to North Plains. He invited her out there. She'd never been there before. And he left her there. However, he left her there. Whatever happened, he left her there.
Take care, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you back here on Monday with a brand new case cracked on the Lord and Arts channel.